Hello everyone and welcome to NFLGirlUK Meets. I'm Bhandari and this is a show that brings you closer to the game you love. Joining me this week is Charles Dagnall, cricket commentator and former first-class cricketer who played for Cumberland, Warwickshire and Leicestershire. Cricket aside, Charles is an NFL fan and co-hosted NFL UK's Inside the Huddle podcast alongside Neil Reynolds in 2013. In our interview, we discuss how Charles came to love the NFL, the standard of quarterbacks today, and the differences between commentating on the NFL and cricket. Plus, Charles tells us all about his upcoming charity concert. Welcome to the show, Charles. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you for having me on. I feel like I've got big shoes to fill after Reynolds of last week. So I shall do my absolute best, but it's lovely to be on. Thank you for asking.
Oh, thank you so much for joining. Now, your background is very much cricket, but I know that you're a Tampa Bay Bucs fan. So let's start with what got you into NFL in the first place and what made them your team.
Well, it's a fairly sort of traditional story, if you like. We were very lucky to have a family holiday over to Florida, as many families do. And Mum and Dad were really keen for us to go and watch and sample a game of American football. Now, I would have been 9, 10 at the time. And we were staying in Tampa, so we went down to see the Bucs. Now, little did I know at the time, it was a pre-season game, and they were playing against Atlanta at the old Houlihan Stadium. And, you know, we all got the orange shirts and stuff and went down, you know, the way that Tampa used to have their shirts, which I still love. But anyway, that's by the by. And so we went down, and honest to God, I'd never seen sport like it. I was a sporty kid, loved football, loved cricket, rugby, you name it. But I'd never seen or had an experience like this. I was from Bolton, so the biggest stadium I'd seen was Burnton Park at the time. Now then, and that held probably, I don't know, 20,000, something like that. Now you go to Houlihan Stadium, and the shape of it, where it was almost like the Velodrome in Marseille, where it rose and fell in sort of, you know, crests and troughs, and I'd never seen something as enormous as that. So that blew my mind. 76,000 seat stadium, and it was all open. There was no covers. I'd never been to an uncovered stadium before, apart from cricket grounds. So it was mind-boggling, the size of this. And then when it all started, didn't know what was going on. There were some helpful locals who sort of gave us an idea. But the classic sort of razzmatazz, the cheerleaders, the helmets, the logos on the side, the music that was playing, and all of that. I'd never seen sport done in that way, and I was hooked, absolutely hooked. And like any kid of that era, you know, you watched sport on telly, whether it was snooker or bowls or darts or football or whatever it was. And then it started coming on Channel 4, Nicky Horn, and you know, everybody will remember who are of a certain age watching the American football on Channel 4, and I was gripped, absolutely gripped. So that is why the Bucs were my team, for better or worse. Goodness me, I wish Mum and Dad had taken a holiday to Green Bay, but yeah, that is how it all started, and it was only something small, but it grabbed me. And I've never ever let go since. It's been fantastic watching it, covering it, and being sort of part of it as a fanboy. That's all I am, is just a massive fanboy of the game. And that was the moment that it sort of got its hook stuck into me, and that's from there on in. And
on the Tampa Bay Bucs front, is there a quarterback you would not want at the Buccaneers over Jameis?
Sorry, is there a quarterback I wouldn't want?
Yep.
Jameis. Go away. 37 touchdowns, people keep telling me. Well, 30 touchdowns and 7 pick sixes. So is there a quarterback I wouldn't want? Well, Look, I'm a terrible Bucs fan. I love them, but I hate them at the same time. I'm so pessimistic. It's unusual because in football I support Burnley, and I love us because they're an underdog, and you know they've not got a great deal of cash, and they're punching above their weight, and you sort of get behind that. No one likes us, and we don't play attractive football. Rah, 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 rah. Now the Bucs, I believe, have got a hugely talented roster. I would take a Joe Flacco or a Derek Carr or even as far as a Ryan Fitzpatrick over Jameis personally, because the blood pressure that rises when watching the Bucs. People say, "Oh, they're brilliant to watch. They're really entertaining." Yeah, well, if you're a fan, I'd rather us win 24-12 than lose 53-46. It's, as talented as they got. I believe they've got the best receiving core in the entire league. I really do. We got Godwin on one side, you got Evans on the other, you've got OJ Howard, you got Cameron Brate. I think that is a serious arsenal of weapons for any quarterback. It's just that the quarterback can't find them. Or when they do find them, fantastic. But, he's thrown 3 picks at the stage. Look, Jameis is young still. But after 5 years, you would have expected much, much more and much more progression, and not for him to be making the mistakes he does. I could be hugely wrong, but I think there are better options for that particular system. And who would I want? Look, there's some in the draft. A couple of mock drafts have got us taking one of the youngsters coming out of college. They could try that route. Or find themselves, a few have talked about Phillip Rivers coming over from Los Angeles. Goodness me, I'd have him in a heartbeat. I really would, especially with having Bruce Arians there as well, who worked wonders with Carson Palmer, went over in Arizona. So, you know what? A lot of Bucs fans may disagree. I'm sure quite a lot do agree. But the sort of, the amount of roller coaster that you go through being a Bucs fan at this moment is one that needs to be calmed down a little bit, and we need a proper leader under centre, I believe.
So for you, it's anyone but Jameis.
Yes, it really is. I'll have a go if they want. I've got a funny feeling I might find our players rather than theirs a bit more than him. But yeah, that is our biggest cause of concern. It really is. Yes, we need 4,000 cornerbacks because our secondary is awful. But yeah, I think you've got to address that. Who is going to lead the side next year? And if you're gonna go with Jameis, I would franchise him, see if he does progress for the next year, or draft a youngster and maybe get a veteran free agent. But it's with a talented roster, and I genuinely believe that they do have one. I would be looking at that, the quarterback position first and foremost.
Now, for as long as you've been watching the game, do you think that the standard of quarterback in the NFL has ever been higher than it is now?
No, I really don't. And you look at the stats, you go back to some of the old quarterbacks who won multiple Super Bowls, and you look at the Elways and the Phil Simses and the Terry Bradshaws and all of that. You look at their stats in comparison to those of today, and they are chalk and cheese. They really are in completion percentages and the ratings that they've got. There's a lot of quarterbacks in the Hall of Fame who've got sort of average numbers when you compare them to today. I agree with you. I don't think it has been any higher. And when you see the excitement that we've seen from some of the youngsters, and I even throw in people like, Deshaun Watson, Carson Wentz, Jimmy Garoppolo, Patrick Mahomes is the one. You look at him and Lamar Jackson and all of these youngsters who are just fantastic to watch. And then you still got your experience of, Brady and Rivers and Aaron Rodgers. I mean, I would pay money just to watch Aaron Rodgers. I think he is the complete player. Drew Brees, another one. But Rodgers for me is the ultimate player at that position. Everyone has got their different opinions, but I think the excitement levels of what these guys can produce, their athleticism, their arm strength, they are dynamic players, which is great for the league. It really is. It captures people's imaginations, and I especially think this year with Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. They are. I mean, I used to hate watching Baltimore. God, they were boring. And you're churning out the run, and it's all very good. But Joe Flacco, throwing 7-yard outs. It wasn't my idea of sensational, sexy American football. Lamar has given them a different dimension. God, when they're on the telly, I can't wait to watch them, and that's the feeling you kind of want to get. I'm not saying that, but I'm offense only. I do love a defensive tussle, but there are these players that are, they're on the telly this weekend. Brilliant, can't wait to watch. And I agree with you. I think the standard is so high at the moment, and it's brilliant for everybody. For those coming into the game, look at it, and we get our information now. I'm probably going off course a little bit, but we get our information so immediately.
Yeah.
And through social media, which is the way now, and the variety of different channels that you can get your information. Someone does something brilliant and mind-blowing, it's already out there in a 15, 20-second clip. And if you're a kid watching that, all sports are doing it. But if you're a kid watching that and go, wow, look at what this guy's just done, I'm going to watch that. I'm going to, and it grabs your attention, and it grabs a potential new fan from somewhere. So I think that is the way that these guys are playing. I think that is good for the game.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess when you look at things from like a commentating point of view, how different is it commentating on an NFL game to a cricket game?
That's a really good question, and people might think that it's night and day, the difference, and it's really not. And the reason is the rhythm of the game. In that, I'll give you an example. So in cricket, bowler comes up, bowls his ball, and something happens, and then there's 30 seconds of nothing until he bowls his next ball. Well, in American football, the rhythm is not too dissimilar, apart from if you're in a 2-minute, 4-minute drill. You've got 7 seconds of action, and then you've got 30 seconds until the next play. So the rhythm of it is actually quite similar. The length of games, if I'm doing a 2020 game, it lasts 3 hours. If I'm doing an NFL game, it lasts 3 hours. So there are obvious differences. Terminology is one, where I remember doing a game, and it was just after cricket season, and I had done some cricket quite recently, and I went and did a Wembley game, and it called the sideline the boundary. And he's tiptoeing along the boundary. No, it's not. It's the sideline. and the terminology, of course, with the amount of cricket that I do, you can get sort of caught in betwixt and between, which is, that does happen. But the rhythm of the game is not too dissimilar. I've not done a huge amount of NFL commentary. If someone could wave a magic wand, that's what I would be doing, because I love the game. Cricket's my job. I adore cricket, but everyone's got sort of dreams and goals, and it was a dream to play professional cricket. I did that, and dream to be on TMS and Sky. I've done that, and what's the next thing, kind of thing. So to commentate day in, day out on American football, wouldn't that be brilliant? That would be amazing. Whether you're good enough to do it, who knows? But that is the difference is our terminology, and obviously the amount of players round the ball.
Yeah,
whereas it's a lot more distanced when doing cricket, but the rhythm of the game is actually pretty similar. And
as someone who watches a lot of NFL, do you have any favourite commentators over in the US?
Oh yeah, lots. I'm a bit of a geek when it comes to commentary, and I study commentators to try and improve myself. Basically, I listen to how they do things, how they explain things, little bits of detail that they give you without you realising it, their techniques and styles, and see if I can actually adapt it to my own. And I think, as commentators, I think everyone should do this, in that you try and make yourself better. You're always striving to improve, and no one ever, I believe, has got it. You can strive to continue to improve. and I'll give you an example on Test Match Special. You know, this is an iconic program. And similarly with Sky Sports Cricket, which has become over the last, 20, 25 years, there are big shoes that you've got to fill. You're never good enough. You're never good enough of the guys that's gone. So it's the ghosts of their voices continue to sort of not haunt you as such, but it's the standard that you try and strive to hit. And so by listening to other people, I think you get better and better. And they're good for a reason, and to steal techniques that they use and to add those bits to your commentary, I think is something that all commentators should do. And I don't just listen to the sports I like. I listen to football commentators. One of the best commentators in the country, I believe, is a guy called John Hunt. Now, he commentates on horse racing for 5 Live. He's an absolutely staggering commentator. He's fabulous. I'm no horse racing fan, but watching or listening to him, it just shows you what can be done given that particular circumstance. So when listening to NFL, I genuinely believe, I listen to a lot of Pat Summerall, and I saw a lot of Richie Benaud in Pat Summerall, where his motto of only say something when you can add to the pictures, I think was very much something that Pat Summerall actually used. Obviously, he was with his partner, John Madden, for so many years, and they were a partnership which worked fantastically well. I still believe the best commentator in the NFL is Al Michaels by an absolute stretch. And the partners that he's worked with in the past, I think he has a lovely way about him. It's relaxed. He's obviously well-researched and knowledgeable. There's humour there. He talks to you. He doesn't shout at you. And that's another key thing. He does use his voice fantastically well. I think Marv Albert's a brilliant commentator. I'll tell you who I do think is great as well, Iron Eagle. He's an excellent commentator. Really, and underrated. He doesn't get the huge games. But him and Dan Fouts do a lot of stuff together, I think I'm right in saying. And I love those two as a partnership. I think they're brilliant. And they really add to the commentators. Look, there's some who I don't think are as good, and I don't think it's fair to say on that, I don't like speaking ill of anybody, but everybody has their favourites. Look, when I'm commentating, people don't like what I do. Hopefully the majority of people do, but that's the nature of it. That's the nature of the business. But Al Michaels, Iron Eagle, for me, obviously Jim Nantz, I think, and Tony Romo have reinvigorated that partnership with Romo coming in. So yeah, I think they're very good, but I think Al Michaels really, you're talking doyens, and I think he is the ultimate NFL commentator. Just really listen to how he describes the game, and moreover, when he doesn't speak, as to when he does, and I think he's fabulous.
Now, you've covered NFL, and you were previously host alongside Neil Reynolds on the Inside the Huddle podcast. Would you be up for doing something like that again, like your own podcast or something, or do you prefer more just enjoying it, NFL, from like a fan perspective?
Oh, it's a really good question. I loved doing the NFL with Neil. We had such a giggle, and we got on really, really well. And I heard what he'd said on your podcast, and he's an absolute beauty. I don't think there's many nicer blokes. And I listened to what he said about getting grief from NFL fans as though everything's his fault. And I read the same things that you read on social media, and you're like, come on, give the guy a break. But because he is the focal point for most people in the UK, that sort of comes with the territory. I adore the bloke. I loved it when we did it for about a year. We had a good giggle. I remember actually doing one. We had to record one, and he was in the studio. And I was actually working on local radio as well as doing TMS at the time. And I was in a studio in Leicester, and he was in London or wherever. But I remember when the summer hit and we did some, I was all over the show. So I I remember doing one at John Paul Getty's estate in Buckinghamshire, and we managed to get a broadcast line. And I think I was doing I was doing some game. I can't remember what it was, but this opulent and beautiful part of the country, there was red kites flying in the forests. This is where the Vicar of Dibley was filmed, and this cricket game's going on, and me and Neil are shooting the breeze about NFL. He's in a studio, and I'm in this country estate. Land Rovers ahoy and all that sort of stuff, and it was really, really funny. But I loved it, and I really enjoyed working with him. And I heard that, and can I just state for the record that the question that you asked last week of him was not planted by me whatsoever. I will say, if that would ever come to pass, I would be hugely delighted. I mean, that would be a dream to go and do NFL with him on a Sunday at Sky. Because it would be fun, and we all love the game. I think anyone would be remiss if they didn't get an opportunity like that not to take it. But I don't foresee. I did the NFL on 5 Live for a season and a half, I think it was. Loved doing that. Had some great guests. It was properly shoestring. We made it sound bigger than it was, and I really enjoyed it. But weirdly, because I was presenting it, I didn't actually get to see a lot of the games because other things were going on at the time. We had to hit advert or make sure that there were no adverts and going out on the BBC, and so we had to back time things a lot, and that meant keeping an eye on what was going on from that regard, the radio side of it. And actually, I was missing a lot of the game that was going on, or the games that were going on. So as enjoyable as it was to broadcast it, I didn't feel that season I actually got my fill, weirdly, of American football. So, look, I'm a commentator. I love being at the games. I love describing them to people. That's what I do, and that's what I love doing. But yeah, teaming up with Neil again, that would be a good giggle. I think we get on well, and have a good laugh. And that's what I think. That's what people want. They want,
definitely,
to enjoy their NFL, to see that we're enjoying it too, and to be entertained.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's one of the things that everyone loves about the BBC show with OC, Jason and Mark. They've got this really good camaraderie, haven't they?
They do. It's such a good programme and Chappers, I believe, is one of the top 3 sports presenters in the country. He never fails to ask the question that the majority of people are thinking about. And it spans also such a diverse population of the NFL fan. I think the expert can enjoy the show as well as the rookie.
Yeah.
And they've pitched it absolutely perfectly. 2 great personalities in OC and Jason, alongside a superb presenter in Chappers. So I think that has done a lot for the game in the UK, just that programme itself.
Yeah, definitely. And the perfect time as well, because is it straight on after Match of the Day?
I think so. Yeah, absolutely. But also, with iPlayers and catch up and all of that, you can get your fix and your fill of it whenever you like.
Which is perfect, isn't it?
Yeah, totally. Brings it to a much wider audience as well.
Yeah. Now, after last year's Super Bowl, I remember that you were eagerly anticipating the new season kicking off again in September. This time around, do you plan on filling the gap by looking at other leagues, such as like the XFL or CFL when that starts?
No, I'm afraid not. And I'll tell you for why. I'm busy in the summer. the summers where I reap what I sow, basically. In that it's cricket season. And I'm lucky that as soon as cricket season finishes, NFL season starts. And what I do, and I never. A lot of people try and sort of give off the impression that they know more than they do. I hope I never do that. In that, I know a decent amount. I'm not an expert. I'm a fan. There are people my role in the NFL in that respect, if it's from a broadcasting capacity, is to find out what the experts know. I know a certain amount. I know more than some and less than others. And when it comes to the draft, I'm glued to the draft for all 3 days. Am I glued to the combine? No. I get little bits of, someone runs a 4.340, then I'll see it on social media and that sort of thing, and make a note to sort of keep an eye, and always find out who the quarterbacks are. Probably the first round, I'll know, 3/4 of the names and what they've probably done. But when it comes to round 2 and 3, I don't know what they've done in their college careers, and so I like learning about them. That's why the draft is such good coverage, because it gives you opinion, it gives you statistics. When someone gets selected, it gives me everything I need to know for where they're going and how they're going to fit in and the roles that they're going to play. And so I'm not going to say that I know about college ball. I like watching it when it's on, and I've got a night where I've got free remote control. That's amazing when that's on. I don't really go in for the XFL or the CFL, and maybe I should, but time is of the essence, really, because the cricket season is a long season. There's a long winter of cricket that I've got to keep across anyway. So I do what I can, but I've only got so much capacity, and some would say I've got a very limited one at that. So not really, but my contact with it will start at free agency signings and then onto the draft, and then I'll watch a teeny tiny bit of preseason. But really, it's I'll keep across things, listen to the odd podcast here and there when I'm driving up the motorway from cricket ground to cricket ground, and of that, there's quite often I'll download podcasts and listen. But yeah, the cricket season starts, and I'm pretty busy.
No, that's fair enough. And before I let you go, I understand you're organising a charity concert at the moment. Why don't you tell our listeners all about that?
Right. Well, first off, they should come because we're going to rock their world if they do. No, look, this is... Thank you for asking about this. Again, I didn't plant it. So
no, you didn't.
This is your question. Basically, I come from a family of musicians. My brother is a session drummer, and my other brother is a bass player. My sister was a pianist, and I was the odd one out. I was sport boy, and so it's taken a little while for me to sort of get on the horse of playing an instrument. And now I've started. I'm doing it actually. With targets, doing my grades and all of that, and I play bass. The family doesn't need another bass player because of my two brothers. So my brother, who's a session musician, John, he's a session drummer, but is also a ridiculous bass player, guitarist, and keyboard player. It's one of those blokes that you hate. Can walk into a room and can entertain people. And I can't, so that makes me insanely jealous. My eldest brother is a bass player, and he's played in a variety of different rock bands here, there, and everywhere throughout his life. My brother John's brother-in-law is actually the bass player for Queen now, wow. Which is, and he is one of the best in the world. It's absolutely insane. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to get off my backside and learn an instrument. So I'm up to, I'll be doing my grade 4 later on this summer. But me and fellow commentator Henry Moran from Test Match Special, he's a very, very talented guitarist. He's a proper shredder. And we thought, why don't we get on stage? Why don't we just do it? Instead of mucking around in hotel rooms around the country, taking our little guitars with us and jamming, why don't we get on stage? And so we went, all right, well, let's do it. Anyway, it was going to be sort of like, oh, let's do it in a pub. And then we thought, well, no, we can't do that because we want to go all in. We want to go pure Spinal Tap and wear spandex and play rock. So so it spiraled into this enormous thing that we're doing at the 100 Club in Oxford Street in London. And this is a venue that's hosted like some of the greatest acts of all time, from the Stones to Alice Cooper to Def Leppard to Louis Armstrong to, and for some godforsaken reason, they've let us play. I don't know if they don't what they've let us themselves in for. So what we said is we just want to get on stage and have a great night of entertaining people, rocking, playing sort of proper 80s hair rock. A bit of Van Halen, a bit of Kiss, a bit of Rainbow, that sort of stuff. But we also thought, we don't want to make any money, but we could make some money for charity. So we've decided that the tickets, every single penny of the ticket sales will go to teenage cancer, which is, of course, very close to us, and we wanted to raise some money for them. Look, some people run marathons. I've got an arthritic left knee, and I can't do that, so we've got to go and rock to raise money instead. But no one's making any money out of it whatsoever. We've got a sponsor under the posts, an events company who are putting the money up, so that's brilliant. And every penny from ticket sales, the £30 a ticket, it all goes, every single penny goes to teenage cancer. And we've luckily got, thanks to my brother, he's coming down to drum for us, so we've got someone ridiculous on drums. He is also bringing a keyboard player and another guitarist. So our backing band, who we've named the Flying Love Leopards, they are seriously good. And so we're going to sound pretty good, I think. We've got to sing. That's one little hurdle that we've got to get over. But we've also got some guests coming. We can't tell you who they are, but we've got some guests coming to play with us as well. And we're going to have a great night. It's going to be a brilliant night. There's 300 tickets available. We've sold about a third of them. It's on July the 31st, so the Friday of the Lord's Test. We're going to be rocking in London. And if anybody wants to come, we'd love them to come, because you'll have a really good time. That I will guarantee you. If you can survive one or two bum notes here and there, then I think you'll be all right. But we're going all in. I'm having some boots especially made.
Wow.
It'll be spandex and proper. Yeah, we're doing it properly. Lights and all of that, and we're going to have a good giggle. So it'll be worthwhile, even if it's to see two cricket commentators make fools of themselves on stage. It should be good fun. So if you want tickets, go to a site called wegottickets.com. Look for Daggers. If you put Daggers in there, you'll find our link. And if you want to buy some tickets, then A, it would be great to see you, and B, you're raising money for a brilliant cause. So it should be a good laugh. But suffice to say that we are properly nervous about it, and we're still 6 months away.
Oh, it sounds amazing, though.
It's good fun. Have you got your tickets?
I need to buy one.
I'm
definitely available,
so
I'm going to go buy them.
This is penance for me coming on your podcast, and in return, you've got to buy 2 tickets to the show
fair.
And bring someone along.
That's fine. I'll bring the husband. That's fine.
There you go. I hope you know what. Let him know what he's letting himself in for, though. All right.
I will do. Don't worry. Well, Charles, it's been great having you on the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Absolute pleasure. Anytime.
Thank you. Take care.